Matt, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing great.
We don't have Cam. We're leaderless.
Where's Kim?
So he went. He had some other business. What was it for his podcast or something?
See, this is where we should throw Cam under the bus because Cam has this big podcast with Andy Strickland. So he's got two jobs, and clearly he left this job because he felt that this podcast was more important today. So
Yeah, he's got one foot out the door on you guys.
right?
Does that mean that you'll be part of it now full time, and you'll move to St. Louis so you could host
Absolutely
this
not.
show?
What about 1 hour a day? Would you want to be on a radio show? Not even necessarily ours, but what if 1 hour a day you could have one of those? It's now an app on your phone. You can sound crystal clear through your phone, and you could just do the show maybe with us from 9 to 10 every day.
I mean, I would consider that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know if this would be the show, but I would consider something like that.
That's fair.
What was your view of the media? Because now you do stuff at 101. You've done analysis for games and everything. You're a semi-regular on this show, and we appreciate it. How has your view of the media changed from when you were a player to now? And did you think maybe you had some misperceptions about the media back then when you were playing?
No, I mean, I think it's like any other occupation. I mean, there's good people that are good at it, and there's people
Thank you.
that are difficult to deal with. There's people that do a great job and are good at building relationships and that you want to share with and talk to, and then there's people that aren't, that you get annoyed with at times because you just answered the same question 13 times in a row, and
That's Charlie.
so it's one of those things where, in like any other sort of area of a job or there's, like I said, there's people that are really good at it that I thought were really good at it, and there's people that I didn't, and I probably got annoyed a few too many times just because the emotion of the game, or that you just sometimes you don't want to answer the same question over and over.
Part of it, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, and I think Goldschmidt is the same way. They don't like talking about things they just did. And
Yeah.
when you're in the post-game scrum, the door's right there. You could have sneaked out and head home. I know you have stuff you got to do, but they're going to ask you about stuff you did. You're the hero of the game. Was that a difficult part for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that again, you want to respect that you have a job, and that you guys are trying to do your job, and I've always acknowledged and appreciated that. But I like I said, I just there's certain times when people they just they pop in and ask dumb questions, and that sometimes gets a little frustrating. But I always understood that it was part of the gig, and something necessary, and like I said, I try to be open and honest and transparent, and give people a little bit of an insight of what's going on, but at the same time you have to be careful with the confidence of a locker room and of your teammates.
How about this? I have two questions now. One negative, one positive. I'll start with the negative. But what was the maddest you ever were in your career about something that was said or written about you thought was just unfair coming from the media?
Well, nothing stands out particularly except I think I did. You might probably remember this, but I remember it was a winter and I was driving around St. Louis, and
Yes.
a couple of local St. Louis people were talking about how I was hurt all the time, and because I had come off a season where I had a couple of freak injuries, and that that I was hurt a lot, and then really when you look at how many games I played, it was it just really kind of going down a rabbit hole of how I was hurt a lot and didn't play, couldn't rely on me, this and that, and I played probably at least 140 games almost every year in my career at that point. And so I called into the show and, just basically said, wait a second, don't let the stats get in the way of your good narrative you got going here. But I play 140 games every year and played more games, or I don't remember what the stat was, but anyways, that was the kind of thing where sometimes in the winter when you're listening to sports talk and you hear people go down, they start talking and they just they don't really check the facts, so to speak, and I called in, and so that was the one time where I was like, you know what, I'm not going to turn the channel. I'm not going to just let this one go, and I think he appreciated it, and we ended up having a good relationship, and he acknowledged that he was wrong, and it was cool.
I like that. I remember that. That was good stuff. Good radio as well.
Yeah.
So how about from a national perspective, who are media people that you think do a good job, whether it's TV, print, reporters that you think are fair when you kind of hear them give their critique, whether it's, just fair. Sometimes you have to go after MLB and say they're doing something wrong or a player. Who do you kind of respect out there of the big national names?
Well, I think Mark DeRosa and Sean Casey are probably my two favorite, and Kevin Millar are probably my three favorite analysts as far as ex-players that I think do a great job. And obviously Waino, if that's something he gets into, I really enjoyed listening to him in the playoffs. But those three guys, as far as former players, I think they do a great. I love watching D-Row in the morning. I think he's funny. I think he gives good analysis. I think Ken Rosenthal does a good job for the most part. I respect Ken. I think he works hard. John Paul Morosi is one of my favorites. Let's see. Yeah, those two stand out. I mean, I think they do a really good. John Boog Sciambi is one of my really close friends, and he's he works for the Cubs now, but he was a national ESPN broadcaster and one of my close friends. I think he does a great job. There's lots of guys that do really, really good jobs, but as far as the national scene goes, I really like D-Row and Sean Casey, and you're talking about Ken Rosenthal and John Paul Morosi, and I don't know. I'll probably leave a few out, but those come to mind.
You talk about narratives, the fact that you're always hurt. There was a narrative when you were a Cardinal that because you were uncomfortable talking about yourself, this is just my opinion, but he doesn't say much. He leads. He's a lead by example guy because he doesn't say much. And I was like, when you hear that, that's someone who's never been in the clubhouse because you're chirping nonstop. And secondly, I think the eyes are open for a lot of fans because they hear you on the radio a lot. You're a great guest. I think when you've done the analyst role, you've been really good at that. I think that took some people by surprise. Were you aware when you were playing that people kind of labeled you as, well, he leads by example, he doesn't say much? Had you heard that?
Yeah, I mean, you hear that kind of thing, but again, I think part of being a leader is knowing what you can and when you can share and how much you can give to the media and what I was comfortable talking to the media about. I mean, that's fine. I wasn't really ever offended by that. But, I think how leadership works and how leadership works in the locker room and who's a leader and who's not. I mean, I think it's very difficult for people outside of those walls to really understand the dynamic of what goes on inside. And probably never will, just because it's such a day-to-day. We spend so much time together. There's so much of a dynamic change every year with all the different players, and so it's one of those things. I did know that. I was aware of that, but it didn't really bother me. Like I said, you be calculated, and you learn a lot of that from the older guys that you come up underneath, in the game, and particularly at that time, sort of pre-social media and pre sort of self promotion. That you don't really give the media much. You keep things in house. You deal with things in house, and I think some of that's changed a little bit, particularly with all of the access via social media. But I was okay with that perception, and didn't really bother me.
We're talking with Matt Holliday. I can't remember exactly if we asked you about Ohtani and all the contract, but I remember in your career, didn't you at one point defer money and you made a joke that Scott Boras won't like this? So what happened then? And then also, I'm just wondering, the previous segment, we were wondering if this Ohtani deferral will just kind of redo how a lot of contracts are done. And will a lot of guys, even though they're not the level of Ohtani, but they want something similar. So just kind of your thoughts on what you did deferring and now this new landscape of deferring money.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, everybody wants to play with good players. I mean, I think that if you know, there comes a point where you have the amount of money that you feel like you're comfortable with for your family and your family, and a couple generations of your family, and so when a team or you have the idea of maybe adding a player or two, but fitting a year-to-year payroll, you fit these sort of payrolls these owners are comfortable with. Sometimes they ask you to defer money, or you talk about the possibility of deferring money that'll open up the opportunity to add a pitcher, add a position player, add this guy, add that guy. And I think most players would say, shoot, sign me up. Like, I want to win. I'm going to get the money anyways at some point. And that, that's something that I think most players are pretty open to. Now, to the point where, there's not a lot of guys that can afford to defer that percentage of their contract. I mean, he's making an incredible amount of money in endorsements and away from the field, to where Shohei can say, I want to wait and get most of this money when I'm done playing, moved away. Sort of, it seems like a pretty bright idea of, I don't know all the tax rules, but if he's able to avoid a lot of the California tax rules by, taking that money deferred and move out of that state and avoid a lot of that income tax, then shoot, that's brilliant. But I do think that there'll be more of that, Charlie, particularly if these other owners sort of see it and these players are agreeable to it, that they'll, particularly to avoid the luxury tax, and MLB probably be looking at that to see if that they make sure that they're not sort of getting hoodwinked on their luxury tax idea.
One of the hot button topics in St. Louis has been Jordan Kyrou, who got a big contract and then didn't do some of the things that they were looking for him to do, and it led to Berube being fired, one of the reasons anyway. So we had talked about when you get that bag, the big contract, sometimes that hunger can go by the wayside. You're a guy who's gotten some big contracts. That was never an issue with you, but how do you guard against it? And have you seen some of that when a guy gets that bag of money that they've been striving for, playing for all their lives, where it suddenly changes kind of their approach to the game?
Well, first of all, I appreciate your pop culture lingo right there, Jim. I really
What do you say?
I called it the bag.
Get the
bag. Yeah, get that bag.
Kids say that. Yeah.
Secure the bag.
Yeah, secured the bag. Jim, I think that's such an individual thing. I mean, I think that a lot of that is what you play for, what drives you, what motivates you. I think, teams have to be careful when they secure the bag for a guy, so to speak, that they know the player, that they know what drives them, what motivates them. To me, I was always chasing how I wanted to be the best I could be. I wanted to optimize every ounce of talent that God had blessed me with, and I wanted to be able to go out on the field and honor the front office for giving me that contract, the fans for I wanted to play well, and for the fans, for my teammates. I wanted to do everything I could to make that contract look good. And I felt like that was a prideful thing and not healthy, but I always felt like that I wanted that contract to end, that both sides were happy about it, and that I did everything I could to possibly make the ownership and the front office and the fans proud that I was part of their organization.
Have you
And
seen? Have you seen someone? I'm not even going to ask you to name names, but have you seen guys where they get the bag and suddenly,
Sure.
they're not doing some of the things they used to do?
Absolutely. I mean, that's human nature, right? I mean, I think that that they're I've seen quite a few, honestly, that but again, I think that pre securing the bag, I would have told you that giving them the bag is probably not the best idea, because a lot of it was motivated by chasing the money and chasing the lifestyle, and not necessarily chasing excellence. And so I think that organizations have to be careful and do their homework on guys that they want to give money to, as far as what motivates them and how their work habits are what they're driven by. So I think that's a it goes back to the draft and in a lot of areas, trying to know people, get to know guys and figure out what drives them and how they tick and what they're all about before you hand them a pile of money.
I always felt like you could, not with every guy, but you could see sometimes with baseball, let's say spring training, about how a player would maybe show up differently in a contract year or after they secured the bag. And you don't have to comment on this, but whenever I think of this, God love him, he's a great player. But
You're going to kill someone
well,
now.
He doesn't have to comment, but just the optics of Kung Fu Panda when he got the bag and then he swung and his belt buckle broke. That was just one of those. Again, you don't have to comment on that. It's just funny sometimes. You can kind of see at spring training where, okay, that guy did get the bag, and maybe he didn't work out as hard over the winter.
This is the kind of thing that makes Matt Holliday not want to be part of the show.
I say he doesn't have to comment.
No, I mean, I'm not going to comment on him. I'm just saying, I think that I think that sometimes you can see that kind of stuff where, whether it's the shape they're in or what they did in the off season or, I think that you just have to look at the motivation behind each guy. And, I think that sometimes, like you see in these contracts where they put these clauses in it, whether it's a weight clause, a body fat clause, a watching film clause, people know, when they give these deals, like, hey, this guy, he struggles with this or struggles with that. He would put it in his contract where he has to be weigh in at this weight or he has to do this or do that. So I think you're seeing a little bit more of that these days as part of these contracts. But yeah, you have to be careful.
Yeah, you got the bag, a few times in your career. So I'm just curious, a guy who had a successful major league career, many bags, what do you get for Christmas? What is the best Christmas present? And I know you guys aren't like the guys to show off the money and everything. I'm just curious, from your family, what is the best Christmas present you ever got?
A
Lambo? A Lamborghini?
No, I don't. Jim, come on.
What are you driving these days?
I just drive a truck.
Yeah.
I have a black Denali HD. It's a nice truck.
Yeah.
I have a nice truck. Honestly, I think the present, or sort of the thing that I appreciate the most around Christmas is, particularly now, it's having everybody together. We usually, like last year, we went on a trip, kind of a vacation to Mexico, and Leslie and I will treat. That'll be our present to each other, as we'll take the kids on a vacation and enjoy that. I mean, I just think that there's not a ton of things like you said. I mean, I don't have a ton of things that I need or necessarily you just don't get if I need it. If they come up during the year, if I need a new pair of basketball shoes, I just order them. So it's like I think at this point in my life and in our lives, we try to give each other experiences over gifts.
Nice. So I know we got to go here. I know you love talking with us. I saw the other day on your, obviously the hitting facility looks awesome, and you got your sons hitting, and I saw Joey Gallo a couple weeks back, and we know over the years, I think Matt Carpenter and Arenado. Have you become kind of this hitting guru where guys go to you in the winter to hit with you and your kids? Is that becoming a thing?
I would never call myself a guru. I mean, I think hitting is too difficult to ever call yourself a guru. I do think that guys respect that I remember how hard it is, and that that I can help them with some things that, because I mean, I don't think there's any replacement for having been in the box and having experienced the highs and lows and the the mechanical changes and the competitive element to it. So it's been fun. I mean, it's something that I've enjoyed, and guys have come in and out. And, I like talking hitting. I like to work with hitters. I like to teach it and coach it, and still enjoy hitting. So it's been fun to use something that I have a passion for and try to help others with. And so it's been fun. It's been, honestly, it's been really cool to have guys. We've had quite a few this off season pop through, and so actually I'm about to head over right now to work with guys. So it's been cool. Like I said, I don't ever pretend to know everything, and the guru I don't like.
I'm sorry.
That word. I don't.
Yeah,
that's okay.
I apologize. I thought it was a compliment.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I'm just saying I don't think there is such a thing. Like I think that hitting's too hard to ever say somebody's a hitting guru.
All right, well, it's the end of the year. Can we lock you in contractually for 2024? And it gets back to the deferment. All of the compensation is going to be deferred
Back end, yeah.
heavily. I mean, we're talking really, really
The
far.
bag at the end.
The bag,
Really
decades,
heavily.
decades away.
Oh, decades away. Wow. All right. Well, now I understand why Charlie's out pursuing other avenues.
That's Cam. I am too, but that's Cam.
I meant Cam. Yeah,
It's all
sorry.
good. We're all
It's
getting
all
old.
good.
We're all getting old.
Whatever.
I can't remember anything.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas to
Yeah.
you and yours, sir. Thank you for coming
Hey,
on, and
same.
thank you for
Same.
dealing with us.
Good questions, Nate. Enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you, Matt. Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, Matt Holliday.
See you guys.
See ya. He's great.
Like that pun there at the end? He's probably never heard that before.
He didn't know if you're Charlie or
That's
Cam.
fine. It's all good.
Hey, so he was checking you.
I know he was.
Why didn't you ask a question?
You guys had it. I don't need to step on
Yeah,
anybody's
you do.
toes.
We
around
want to
here.
hear from you.
I was.
What do you
guys
think?
were
We
good.
know more than you? We don't.
No, but I did call Matt every day for a year and a half. So, but it is funny because, like, you wonder, like, man, I guess he's heard from enough radio producers over the course of his tenure doing call-ins. He's like, oh, another one bit the dust.
I think that's a nice guy who knows you. You know, he's not. Oh, how come Nate didn't ask a question? I think that's cool.
Do you think I should have asked a question?
No,
We were
I'm not
dying
saying-
there. I mean, we're dying. I'm not.
No,
He's
you guys
instant
had it.
offense. He's instant offense.
Plus, he likes to have fun, which, I know you asked that question. It is true, though. He was always great, but he's better now because he just – I get it. If you're trying to hit 100 miles an hour and you're focused and you're trying to earn that contract and you got a lot of pressure, you can't be as laid back. Now he's just chilling, man. He's got his kids. He's taking BP. He's got all the money in the world. He's relaxed. He's just having a good time, and the personality is coming out.
I was always I consider myself the original Matt Holliday apologist because I got to know him, and he'd be in the locker room. Sometimes he'd leave and answer the questions before the manager was done, and he would do it, and he hated it, but he would do it. But I knew it was because he hated talking about himself. But the stuff where people said, yeah, he doesn't say much. If you're in the clubhouse and he would chirp guys, he's walking around. I mean, we see him now because we know his personality. He loves to yap a little bit, right? So that was all wrong.
I think he's one of my favorite all-time Cardinals, really.
Yeah.
And hearing him post-playing and his personality really shining through, I don't know. I agree with you, Charlie. I think this guy lives a pretty nice life.
He does. And he is the same guy, I can tell you. He gave me as much trouble back then. He just didn't do it when the cameras were rolling and stuff.
I also think if you look at the story of Matt Holliday as a Cardinal and beloved, early on, though, it wasn't the greatest first year with remember the playoffs. I think that was part of the conversation, just with the fly ball. That was kind of
and a moth.
Well, and the moth, but I think when you talk about the narrative of players early on, he comes over here. You do have that incident with the towels, L.A., and then he signs the contract. I think that kind of shaped the beginning.
Yeah, I agree. And that moth thing ticked him off because I remember he sent me a picture of the moth. He's like, this thing was in my ear. What am I supposed to do?
And they had to extract it.
Yes.
By the way, I've told this story. Look, my daughter got a frickin' pea stuck up her nose, and we went to urgent care. We were damn close to going to the ER because she would not sit still to have this extraction take place. And I finally, as she's crying there, I finally said, look, if you don't sit still, we're going to have to go to the hospital. And that's what scared her, to sit still enough for this woman to basically put the whatever up her nose and pull out a full pea.
Oh,
Like the game Operation.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
sounds terrible.
Here's Frankie Cusimano coming
Hey,
up next.
hey, Frank, how about not having a big fight on the air? All right, we're the nice station. Stop.
By the way,
stop going at it with your panel.
you know that you provided. By the way, I love that. I'm driving home. I love that segment. Our first 75 minutes of our show today was talking about your argument. This is the debate with Rammer and Van Slyke yesterday. It was great. It was
Great
fantastic.
stuff. It was good
Good.
stuff.
I'm glad you liked it. Thank you, man.
Did you not like it?
No, that's
It
good.
was
Yeah,
great
it's fun.
radio.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was great radio. Seriously.
You just swiped away our praise to you because you couldn't care what we think.
But wasn't it okay? But I know it got a little bit heated, but it was great radio.
Yeah. This is what I do love in the whole thing. Because, look, let's face it. We all want to be contrarians and have like a different take. And since 99% of St. Louis thinks it's the worst move ever made in history to fire Craig Berube, I love the fact that there's a small percentage chance that his most unpopular move ever could actually turn into a smart move. That's why I'm rooting for the Blues harder now than I ever have in my life. I want this thing just to be different, that, hey, you want to rip him to death? You know what? His message was not getting to everybody, including Jordan Kyrou. Was Kyrou a brat, did not read the room? Absolutely. But what Armstrong did in the end may be the smartest thing he did.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're both right.
So
You're
We'll
both
see.
right. Everybody's
You
right.
guys were right. Charlie was very wrong.
I was
today on
wrong.
the show. He
All
was
right.
awful.
But
He
you know
was
what?
Awful.
It gave us
Tommy Edmonds center too, but okay.
about what?
We can't have a center fielder that doesn't get on base and doesn't hit home runs. I like him on my team, but you can't be below average and getting on base and hitting home runs for a major league outfielder and not being able to throw and being an everyday center fielder.
Now hold on a second. First of all,
I like him in your the other role you said.
Well, wait.
A utility role.
Hold on.
But not as an everyday center fielder.
now hold on. Have you argued with Van Slyke about that?
Yeah,
Okay,
he's wrong too.
But here's the thing. I don't think you heard our discussion. I said I like Tommy Edman as a Gold Glove second baseman. That's what I said.
Yeah, I did hear that.
I
too.
think he's their best. Unfortunately, he's
but
their
he's
best
not.
option.
He's not going to be your second baseman because if you had this rare opportunity to have a second baseman to hit 35 home runs,
but why
and he's
can't
okay fielder.
But why can't he rotate Gorman around corner outfield,
That's
corner
an
infield,
interesting idea.
DH?
Yeah.
I'm just saying I like the Cardinals as a
They
defensive
have
team better
redundancy.
when Tommy Edman plays second base 150 games at a Gold Glove caliber.
That's a better idea than having the only outfield in the history of baseball to not have an outfielder hit 20 home runs for the third consecutive year.
I didn't say that.
So if you have Tommy,
You're putting words in my mouth.
If Tommy's not in center, he's not at second base, and Gorman's at second, then you have Tommy and Donovan as extra pieces that you're trying to find playing time.
Well, that means you're-
I mean, this is the problem with the roster as it's constructed now.
That means you're a pretty good team if Tommy Edman is a platoon player. It's like the Billikens when you have all these guys that are like they're the second or third best player. No, if those guys are your fifth or sixth best player, you're okay. Or like your starting rotation. If Lance Lynn is your fourth best pitcher, you're okay. So
I hear you. All right, we'll get out of here. Good passion.
Good crossover.
I hope Frank and Bob Ramsey argue again. I'm going to love it. We're going to play it tomorrow again.